The governor's flag came down. A crowd cheered as a new banner rose. A gray wolf on a red field. All perfectly legal. It had started 6 months earlier, with a budget crisis and a desperate alien official who didn't read the fine print. Governor Vex Tarl Moore of the Krelth sector faced a deficit so deep it threatened basic services. His aides had no good options.
Find me security forces that don't cost a fortune. I don't care if they're human, reptilian, or synthetic.
Black Tide's proposal arrived the next day. Captain Jonathan Park offered a 5-year contract at 1/10 the usual rate.
We're efficient, Governor. Our terms are standard among human mercenary companies. You'll barely notice we're here.
The contract was 12 clauses. Clause 7, operational authority during defensive contingencies. The governor signed without a second glance. 2 weeks later, a smuggler ring launched a raid on a cargo depot. Black Tide responded within minutes, invoking their contingency authority for the first time. They locked down the district, arrested suspects, and took command of the local security grid. All within the letter of the contract. Vex Tarl Moore received a crisp after-action report. Something about the timing nagged at him, but the numbers were good. His senior economist had been blunt. Without cheaper security, 3 planets would lose water processing by year's end.
That pirate company is a godsend. Half the cost, twice the speed.
Then a border patrol drone flagged an unidentified vessel skimming the sector boundary.
We're invoking Clause 7, assume tactical command of all orbital defenses.
Within the hour, Black Tide personnel were inside the planetary defense network, rerouting targeting protocols. Governor Vex Tarl Moore received the incident summary an hour later. A smuggler probe, neutralized with 0 civilian casualties.
If this is their worst, I'll take it. Defensive contingencies, nothing more.
The after-action report noted that Black Tide now held temporary command of all orbital defense platforms on the border world. The governor signed off without comment.
A minor oversight, a necessary evil. The budget was balanced after all.
A multi-system smuggler ring was uncovered a month later. Black Tide cited intelligence gaps and assumed temporary police authority on 3 planets.
A necessary step. They're thorough.
Then a labor dispute at the Krelth -3 spaceport escalated. Black Tide intervened under Clause 7, taking command of port security. The governor's economic advisor noted the unusual frequency of crises. Vex Tarl Moore dismissed the concern. The budget remained balanced. A power grid sabotage on 2 colony worlds prompted another invocation. Black Tide engineers assumed control of energy distribution.
Each crisis seems perfectly timed for their response. Am I imagining a pattern?
But his schedule was a blizzard of deficit projections and welfare cuts. He had no time to dig deeper. When the 3rd planet's police commissioner formally protested the takeover, the governor filed the complaint without action.
I'll address it next quarter. Surely there's no rush.
Black Tide now held operational authority over law enforcement across 3 worlds. The governor's unease had not yet become alarm. Vex Tarl Moore summoned Park to the official chamber, his patience finally worn thin.
Captain, I've noticed an alarming pattern. Every minor incident becomes a reason for your people to take over my systems.
Governor, we simply respond to threats. Clause 7 grants us operational authority during any defensive contingency. We don't choose the timing.
Show me the exact wording. I want to see it again.
Park projected the contract onto the table, highlighting Clause 7. The fine print was excruciatingly precise.
Operational authority over all essential infrastructure. During any declared contingency, no time limit specified. This is absurdly broad. You could literally take over anything with a single incident.
That's the contract you signed, Governor. We're simply meeting our obligations.
Vex Tarl Moore stared at the human captain, realizing the trap had already been sprung.
I handed them the keys to my sector for a cheaper price tag.
Black Tide's next move came during a communication node failure on Krelth -7. They assumed control of the sector's primary relay network. Power fluctuations across 3 colonies followed. Black Tide invoked Clause 7 and took command of the main energy grid. Locals noticed that the lights stayed on and the comms were clearer. The mercenaries were efficient. At the governor's council session, Vex Tarl Moore expected outrage. Instead, his ministers praised Black Tide's performance.
You are all thanking them? They've taken over half our infrastructure without my authorization.
His finance minister replied without flinching, "Governor, the budget shows a surplus. The people are satisfied. What's the issue?"
The issue is that I no longer control my own sector, and no one seems to care.
By the end of the 3rd month, Black Tide held operational command on 10 of the 14 planets. The council began skipping his briefings.
I am becoming a spectator in my own government.
Black Tide was now the de facto administrator of the Krelth sector. Legally, irrevocably, 1 clause at a time. On Krelth -2, Captain Park addressed a square packed with locals, his tone warm and inclusive.
Your cooperation has made Krelth safer, more prosperous. Perhaps a more direct partnership is the natural next step.
Across the sector, citizens watched the broadcast on public screens, many nodding in approval. Governor Vex Tarl Moore watched the same feed, his hands gripping the armrests until his knuckles blanched.
He's openly discussing replacing my government, and my people are cheering.
He contacted his legal counsel and demanded a full forensic review of the contract. The legal team pored over every clause for days, searching for any flaw. Their conclusion was damning. The contract was airtight. Every takeover, every invocation of Clause 7, all perfectly lawful, under Krelth's own statutes.
I signed away my sector for a discount. There is no escape clause.
The governor stared at the report, the full weight of his predicament settling in his chest like a cold stone. A stone he had placed himself. Vex Tarl Moore summoned Park again, this time armed with a single demand: cancellation.
Your contract is terminated effective immediately. Pack up your troops and leave my sector.
Impossible. Clause 12 sets early cancellation damages at 14 billion credits. Your treasury holds 8.
The governor's gaze fixed on the financial chart his aide had left. The deficit was already a noose.
You engineered this. Every clause, every contingency, it's a trap you laid from the start.
Naturally. But I am open to renegotiation. Waive the penalty, and will assume permanent administrative authority over all infrastructure.
You want me to legalize your theft? I will not legitimize what you've done.
Park's smile remained perfectly still, the smile of a man who had already won. The governor left the chamber without another word. His refusal, the only card he had left.
Refusal won't stop them. I've locked myself in this cage and I threw away the key.
A coordinated prison break on Krelth Negalift 9 unleashed 30 high-risk convicts. Black Tide invoked Clause 7 before the alarm stopped ringing.
Under Clause 7, we assume command of all penal and court facilities. This is a defensive necessity.
By dusk, Black Tide personnel controlled the sector's prisons, courthouses, and parole boards.
They now decide who goes to prison and who goes free. Every verdict is theirs.
Anonymous tips led to raids on the homes of his remaining loyal ministers. No arrests, just a clear message. His chief of staff resigned the next morning. Security concerns cited as the official reason.
I cannot protect my own people. I cannot protect myself.
Black Tide's operational authority now covered the entire criminal justice system. Any judge who resisted was replaced. The governor still signed decrees, but compliance was voluntary. His orders were suggestions now. From his window, Vex Tarl Moore saw only the wolf banner. The sector belonged to Captain Park. Park requested a private audience. No aides, no recording devices. The governor had little choice but to comply.
Governor, a smooth transition would benefit everyone. I can act as your chief advisor, overseeing all administrative functions.
You are asking me to surrender my sector, to legalize your occupation.
I am offering a partnership. The people trust us. Keep your title, your salary, Your palace? Just let me run the administration.
He wants my signature on the theft. I'll be a figurehead in my own palace. I will never legitimize this. You can take my authority, but you won't get my consent.
Then the transition will be less comfortable. For you.
Park left the chamber with that same calm smile, a predator who had already tasted victory.
He'll take it anyway. I need allies, a legal countermove, something.
But his remaining advisors had scattered. The governor was utterly alone, facing a legal machine he could not unmake. Citizens on 3 worlds filed petitions for a formal governance vote. The wolf banner was already more familiar than the governor's crest. Black Tide volunteers distributed pamphlets on sector self-determination. The language was inclusive, the implications radical.
The people are speaking. A vote on your future is the only democratic path.
The crowd's applause was thunderous, drowning any doubts. The wolf banner flew over 11 government centers. The governor's crest was taken down quietly. His legal counsel confirmed the grim truth: the contract's self-determination clause could not be overridden. A mock vote on Krelth -2 showed 94% backing for Black Tide. The coverage flooded every screen. The governor watched, his hands trembling not with anger, but with the cold certainty of irrelevance. Park made no formal announcement, but his slight smile on the evening broadcast spoke volumes. All 14 planetary councils passed resolutions demanding a governance vote. The governor's dissent was not recorded. Captain Park stood before a sector-wide broadcast and announced a binding referendum on formal governance transfer.
Clause 9 allows for a transition of service provision upon majority consent. The people will decide.
Vex Tarl Moore watched the announcement, the sector map glowing with Black Tide markers behind him.
He just stole my sector with a clause I never read.
Campaign stalls appeared overnight, volunteers wearing wolf pins offering refreshments and promises. The message was simple: stability, security, and no more budget crisis. His own rallies drew sparse crowds. The governor's speeches met with polite silence. Black Tide's outreach dwarfed his. They controlled the media, the message, and the narrative.
They've already won. I just make the defeat official.
The plebiscite was 6 weeks away. Vex Tarlmore could only watch the machinery he built consume him. Park's rallies grew feverish. Crowds swelled beyond the city squares, chanting his name as he spoke of a new era.
A vote for Black Tide is a vote for uninterrupted stability. No more deficits, no more chaos.
The crowd's roar was deafening. Polls flashed on every holoscreen. 87% intended vote for the wolf. Vex Tarlmore's rallies, by contrast, were held in half-empty halls, the echoes underscoring his fall.
They're not voting for Park. They're voting against my mistakes.
His past budget crises were replayed on loop, a damning archive of failure, edited by Black Tide's media wing. A final pre-election poll showed Park at 91%. The governor's approval had slipped below 4%.
I've become a footnote in my own history.
On the eve of the vote, Park's message was serene certainty. Tomorrow, you choose the future you already live. The governor had no response. His legal team had dissolved. His voice was one against an empire of certainty. Across the sector, millions filed into polling booths, their choice already clear in the previous weeks. Observers certified the vote as free of tampering. The results streamed in without delay. Screens across 14 worlds displayed the same truth. Black Tide had won with 87%. Vex Tarlmore watched the numbers climb, his chest hollowing with each confirmed district.
This is a legal coup. I've been erased by my own signature.
Park delivered his victory address from the Capitol spire, the wolf banner rippling behind him.
The people have spoken. Black Tide will govern with the efficiency you deserve.
The former governor sat alone, drafting a formal challenge for the Galactic Court.
The contract was signed under duress. The election was manipulated. I'll prove it.
His lawsuit landed on the docket the next morning. All he had left was the law. The Galactic Court accepted the case, The ancient chamber hummed with the weight of centuries of interstellar law. Chief Justice Alara presided over the circular courtroom, her gaze unreadable.
I signed under economic duress. The budget crisis left me no alternative but to accept their predatory terms.
His lawyers projected the deficit charts, the desperation in every line. It was a story of a man trapped. Park's counsel remained seated, the captain himself watching with that same faint smile.
The governor is a seasoned official. He read and signed a standard mercenary contract. Buyer's remorse is not a legal argument.
The holographic screens displayed Clause 7, the fine print the governor had ignored.
The judges see a fool, not a victim. I am arguing against my own signature.
Alara's questions were sharp, each one stripping away the governor's emotional appeal and returning to the contract's letter. The first day ended. Vex Tarl Moore's case was not yet lost, but the foundations were already crumbling. On the second day, Jonathan Park took the stand with the ease of a man who had prepared for this moment his entire career.
The contract was drafted in plain language. Clause 7 is standard in human mercenary agreements. The governor's office received 3 legal reviews.
He gestured to the screens where each signed revision floated, all bearing Vex Tarl Moore's seal. The gallery leaned forward. Even the governor's own aides seemed riveted.
I didn't hide the clause. I simply assumed a sector governor would read what he signed. Negligence is not a defense.
He's making me the villain of my own tragedy.
Alara's eyes narrowed, but her questions to Park were procedural, never accusatory. When Park stepped down, the courtroom's silence was heavier than any outburst. Vex Tarl Moore's legal team tried to object, but the damage was complete. Park had reframed the theft as a failure of due diligence.
The judges looked at me like I was a child who'd lost his toy.
The governor's lead attorney rose, knuckles white, launching an impassioned but legally fragile final cross-examination.
Your argument is compelling, but does it address the contract's explicit language?
The lawyer fumbled for an answer, his argument collapsing into moral indignation without textual support. Park's counsel stood without notes and recited the precedent, each syllable a nail in the governor's case.
And the election was monitored by 3 independent agencies. Do you contest their findings?
I am losing them. Every question tightens the noose.
Both sides delivered closing remarks. The governor's lawyer spoke of dignity. Park's counsel spoke of the law. When it ended, the courtroom was silent, the weight of the verdict already pressing on every soul.
Tomorrow, they'll read the ruling. I already know what it says.
This court will reconvene in 2 weeks for the final ruling.
The 2-week recess felt like a lifetime. Vex Tarl Moore barely ate, his mind cycling through every legal argument he might have missed.
Maybe the judges will see the moral injury. Maybe the law isn't just words.
The law is exactly words. That's why we're winning.
Park spent the recess reviewing expansion contracts. His confidence was not arrogance. It was the quiet certainty of a man who had already read the final page.
Every night I relived the signing. My hand moved without resistance. Why didn't I read the whole page?
Rumors from the court said the judges had already drafted their opinion. No leaks, but the silence was telling.
Tomorrow, the galaxy will know if I was a fool or a victim, or both.
On the morning of the verdict, Park straightened his collar. His suit was pressed, his posture relaxed. The courtroom gallery was so full, they turned away citizens. Every holocast in the sector tuned to the same feed. Chief Justice Alara entered, her robes whispering against the stone. She held a single document.
This court finds the mercenary contract between Governor Vex Tarl Moore and Black Tide to be legally binding in all clauses. The planetary plebiscite was conducted freely and represents the legitimate will of the sector's population. Therefore, the transfer of governance to Black Tide is lawful. The sector is hereby under its administration.
The gavel struck once. The sound rippled through the chamber like a door slamming shut on a past life. Vex Tarl Moore's legs gave way. He slumped into his chair, the ornate robe suddenly a costume for a play that had ended.
I am no longer the governor. I am a cautionary tale.
Jonathan Park remained seated, his expression unreadable save for a slight nod toward his legal counsel. The gallery erupted into a cacophony of murmurs and stifled gasps. The sector had a new master. The judges filed out. The show was over, but the verdict would echo across 14 worlds.
It was all legal. Every signature, every clause. I lost because I didn't read.
Vex Tarlmore walked out of the galactic court alone. The cheers of the crowd behind him, a final punctuation to his downfall. Across the sector, the wolf banner rose on every government building, each one a silent proclamation of the new order. The old governor's crest was pulled down and replaced with the mercenary flag. No one stopped it. 3 days later, Jonathan Park stood on the Capitol spire, a formal document in hand, taking the oath of office.
I accept the office of Sector Director. I will govern by the law and by the consent of the governed.
The black tide flag snapped in the wind behind him, the same insignia the governor had once dismissed as mere decoration. Later, Park stood by his new office window, surveying the city that had once belonged to another. His slight smile was the only monument to his victory. The old governor's chambers were stripped bare, the ornate desk now a relic. The only sound the whisper of the wolf banner outside.
One signature. One unread clause. That's all it took to erase a lifetime of rule. I will never again sign a contract I haven't read, but that wisdom came 12 clauses too late.
Director Park settled into the governor's old chair, the ornate carving now just furniture. The wall screen displayed a sector map with 14 glowing planets.
A few tariff adjustments reduced bureaucracy. Nothing dramatic, just enough to make them forget the old regime.
Within weeks, trade flows stabilized, public satisfaction climbed. The mercenary governance model was suddenly a commodity. Messages flooded the comms array. Neighboring sectors asking if Black Tide offered administrative transition packages.
We're not mercenaries anymore. We're a government services provider with a very persuasive track record.
He scrolled through the inquiries, a slight smile forming. Each one was a potential contract, a new sector waiting for his signature. Black Tide Cruiser patrolled the edge of the sector, its wolf emblem now a symbol of lawful authority rather than hired muscle.
One budget-strapped governor started all this. Who's next?
The office of Sector Director had become the headquarters of a political enterprise. No one had voted on the expansion, but the law was clear, and Jonathan Park had proven that any contract, read correctly, was a pathway to power. Late in the evening, Director Park sat alone in his office. The only light came from the city's distant spires. He opened a desk drawer and removed a worn physical book. The cover was deliberately unadorned.
How to Read Contracts. A galactic primer.
A soft laugh escaped him. The sound of a man savoring an inside joke that had reshaped an entire sector. The book was a trinket now, a souvenir of the governor's fatal oversight. Park hadn't written it, but he'd memorized every principle. He stood and moved to the window, the city of his new domain stretching before him. The wolf banner fluttered gently in the night wind. A simple clause, a careless signature, and a sector had changed hands. All perfectly legal.
The governor never read the fine print. He paid for it with everything he had.
He set the book back on the desk, title facing up, a quiet monument to the power of reading every word. His laughter faded into a satisfied sigh. Tonight, the Krelth sector slept under his flag. The book lay open on the desk, its title a quiet monument to the simplest of victories. Director Park leaned back, the weight of 14 worlds now resting lightly on his shoulders. The wolf banner caught the first light of a new day, its shadow long over the spires. He had taken the sector, not with fleets, but with a pen and a clause. Somewhere, the former governor still wondered where he went wrong. The answer was printed in tiny type, on page 47 of a book no one else had bothered to read. Park closed the cover. His smile the quiet signature of a contract fulfilled. The camera pulled back, the office shrinking into the city into the sector into the stars, all perfectly legal. The wolf watched over the sector now, and the law was its keeper.